So Phil, we're at the end of another transfer window. When you sat down to start this transfer window, what were you looking to get out of it? What were you trying to achieve this time?
So the starting point of that, I think, was the day after we lost the playoff final. Obviously, everyone was itching to get away for a bit of a break, given that the turnaround was pretty quick to this season. So we sat down with Thomas and Brian, Kevin, Rasmus, Lee, and the plan was keep the players in the squad, keep our squad together, barring two obvious exceptions. Freshen it up around the fringes for players who maybe hadn't been getting enough game time as they have liked, and a couple of fresh faces in, and also make sure that we're financially stable as much as we can be for for the current circumstances with COVID. So overall, I think we achieved that, and I was pretty happy with it.
So we talk about the two big departures. Maybe we'll take them in reverse order because Saeed Benrahma left yesterday. Obviously, with every transfer, there's certain things you can and can't say. What can you tell us about what went on over the past 48 hours?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was a lot of stuff in the media. Most of it nonsense. So we've been talking about this probably for about a week. Probably wasn't helped by the fact Saeed was away with Algeria. That slowed it down a little bit and delayed it till he got back on Wednesday. Gave us a couple of days to get it done. We did a medical on Thursday. Part of that came up with a question mark. So obviously the deal had to be re-looked at. But to be honest with you, from Thursday, once that question mark came up, it was pretty obvious the way it was going. I would have done, given the information West Ham had available, I would have done the same as them, asked to maybe do a loan with it, become permanent, give ourselves a bit more time to re-look at the issue, which is what's going to happen now. So we decided instead of doing a full permanent deal, we'd do a loan for the first year. It will become permanent. All being well with the medical, we're not expecting any major issues to come back from the further testing we need to do. That'll happen over the next few weeks, and expecting to be a West Ham player permanently as soon as possible.
Was, in terms of the way it played out yesterday, was it just the stress of the deadline that made it difficult? It's the sort of thing where if it had been two or three days ago, it'd been absolutely fine.
Listen, if it had been 2 or 3 weeks ago, we would have just done a few more tests and probably this would never have come to light, and it would have been absolutely fine. Because it was right up against the deadline, we had to make a creative solution, shall we say, and we did that. And there was from neither our point of view or West Ham's point of view, there was no change really in the terms of that. There was no change in the financial terms, in the payment structure. All that was exactly the same. It was just saying, well, let's make the first year a loan, buy ourselves some time to look at this issue. Everyone expects this will all be well. And it should be fine. And I guess the main stress probably was for Saeed, because he's got he's doing a medical and something's come up with a question mark. And of course, we've all been to the doctors and there's a question mark. You want to know quickly, well, what is it? Is it anything serious? We don't think it is. Should be fine. So I'm sure between us and West Ham we'll look after him, and it'll be permanent as soon as possible.
The other big outgoing seemed to be a little smoother in terms of Ollie leaving. Are we happy with that deal?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest with you, I think we're happy with it, and we were happy with it. I think Villa are probably absolutely delighted with it, frankly. I think it's one of those where everyone ultimately comes out of it, in good shape. So, listen, he's a fantastic player, isn't he? So, I've no doubt he'll do a brilliant job for them.
A few other players left over the course of the summer. Justin Shaibu, Nikos Klaris, Cameron Mokotjo, Drew Year. Was that just sort of a squad churn there?
Well, we had some who were out of contract. Obviously, a couple will be sold. A few went on loan. Again, it was players who maybe weren't getting the game time last year that they would have hoped for. You can't really go many seasons in that situation as a player. So let's find some game time for everyone, whether it be by a sale or by a loan. And that gives us, opens up some squad space as well for us to bring some new players in, and that freshens up the group and adds a new dynamic to it, which is kind of what you want season on season. That was an aim for the summer, and I think we achieved it.
You set out a stall quite early as a club in terms of we believe we'll get offers for Saeed and Ollie and they can leave, but no one else is for sale. Was that tested at any point?
Yeah, it was tested. Yeah, I mean we had inquiries for our players, but I mean, my job's easy as anything. When you've made a decision already that players aren't for sale, you can just relay that information, and we carry on.
In terms of the income, we won't go through them one by one. We don't need to break down them as players, but four big first team signings in: Ivan, Saman, Vitali, and Charlie Good. Were we happy with that business overall?
Yeah, fine. It was very clear if we plan to sell Ollie and Saeed, that would need players coming in to replace them. We did that. Julian went on loan, Charlie came in, and Vitali is now going to compete with Christian and the other midfield players to play. So let's see how he does.
Were there any other areas of the squad that we looked at thinking we might need some extra resources?
No, not so much. I mean, I think we have probably, people don't realise actually how many players we have on our books. It's 52, it'll be 51 assuming side leaves. That's across the first team and the B team. Some are on loan, so it's currently not in the building. Obviously some are injured. But there's a lot of players, I mean, we've only got 2 teams and 50 something players. So there's only so much we can do in terms of numbers, and that obviously impacts the budget. So we weren't looking to add huge numbers of players, just where we thought we could bring some quality into the group.
Do you think that the squad strength has been sort of vindicted a little bit in terms of the Carabao Cup run? That has allowed Thomas to rotate players. A lot of those players have got some game times, and the fact we've won so many games there, has that sort of got everyone's head in the place where the squad strength is right?
Yeah, I mean, with or without those games, I mean, we see them in training every day, and Thomas does at least, and the coaching staff do, and we know the strength and depth is there. It's great that they get a chance in those cup games to come and show it, and then obviously there'll be minutes in the league as well, because the intensity of the games between now and Christmas in particular is incredible. There's a lot of games, and obviously then the quarter final of the Carabao Cup close to Christmas. So there'll be lots of games, lots of opportunities for everyone to get minutes and play, and we'll need a strong squad.
You've already mentioned about players going out on loan in terms of to get game time. Of those who went, was there any thought of making their exit permanent, or are they sort of players that we still perhaps see a future at Brentford?
Yeah, all of them. You never quite know how it's going to go. I mean, players can go out and do fantastic. Give an example, Hodder, when he went out to Eibar, he didn't play a lot of games there, but when he came back, he was fantastic. So it can work in many different ways. Hopefully they'll get minutes, because that was the whole point of them going out, not going and not playing for those clubs, and then they've got every chance to come back here and do well again.
There's a large turnover in the B team as well. 10 players out, and we got an 11th in yesterday with the loan player. Was that part of the B team strategy, a large turnover? Yeah,
it tends to be every summer, a lot more than the first team, just because players come in, have maybe a 1 or 2 year contract, have a chance to show what they're about, and then if it becomes clear that they're not going to impact our first team, then rather than keep them around another year, it's better that they go and forge a career elsewhere. So you then have to sign more players. We try to get a nice mix of players coming in. We've had a couple of players, obviously the Valgeir and Max coming on loan. Let's see what they can do in that loan spell. And then other players who we think have got a real chance. I think we've got some real good players in that group now, and it'll be really good to see them progress. Obviously Finn Stevens already made his first team debut. That's amazing for him, and fantastic job by him and our coaching staff. So yeah, that makes us it makes me happier than almost anything when you see these players come through, and you know that the project hopefully is doing well, because there's still a lot of pressure on us to make sure that B team project delivers on our decision a few years ago to close our academy. Otherwise, if it doesn't deliver players to the first team, what's the point?
Just final couple of questions looking back overall. When you consider this window, obviously it was always going to be different because of the way the season started with different dates. Was it very different to a normal summer transfer window?
No, not really. They all start slowly and then they pick up towards the end, and then for some reason you end up sitting on the last day of the window, knee deep in paperwork. That's just the way it works out. It doesn't matter whether it's 31st of August or yesterday. It's just the weather that's different, really. But the end of the last two summer windows have been interesting, both of them. So it's all good fun.
And then in terms of going back to that first question, what did we try to achieve? Did you think you got there?
I think so. I mean, we accepted that we'd probably have to sell Said and Ollie. We wanted to get record championship deals for them both, assuming Said goes. I think we did that, which is a good achievement in the current market with obviously belts being tightened because of COVID. And we wanted to replace them, and we did that. And we wanted to keep the rest of the squad together, and we did that. And we got players on extended contracts as well. So yeah, I think we're in a strong place.
One more thing I wanted to touch on with regard to that Said deal. Just going back, you mentioned in your quote yesterday about a sort of a bonus for staff. Is there anything else you can say about that? 'Cause that seems a rather unusual gesture.
You're a staff member, aren't you, Chris?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see. I know why you're asking now. Now, yeah, again, there was a lot of talk in the media about some falling out, some bonus that was due, and look, it was very straightforward. There was nothing contractually due. There was perhaps a misunderstanding somewhere on the line, maybe based on my lack of French and lack of English, possibly. But we had to wait a few days. That was one of the things. We had to wait for him to come back over And so we just sit in a room and say, well, what do you think? And he told us, and I said, well, this is my point of view. And then we he said, well, look, if there's a disagreement, staff have done a great job for me. Why don't we give it to the staff? Fine, perfect, great solution, job done. Shake hands, off you go to West Ham. Go and do that medical. So that's what happened. Straightforward.
And there are only 76 days until the 1st of January, which is definitely a smaller gap than normal. So, throwing forward, does that small gap change anything? And what are the first thoughts for January?
It did change things a little bit in that sense that we knew we didn't have to panic and go out and buy players or worry too much, knowing that we didn't have to wait that long, to be able to have a chance in January again to buy players. So that certainly impacted a little bit of thinking. But we're not normally that active in January anyway. I don't see a lot of money being spent in football in general in January, given the ongoing lack of fans in stadiums. So I'm not expecting that busy a January, to be honest with you, and hopefully we don't need to be.